Hey everybody, Aaron Blaise here, and today I want to do something a little different. I want to review a book. It's not something I usually do, but this is a book that came into my life recently, and it really has helped me out artistically in drawing birds. I recently completed a course on how to draw birds of prey. When I do these courses on how to draw specific animals, I do a ton of research ahead of time. In my research for birds of prey, I found this book called Bird Anatomy for Artists, and it's by Dr. Natalia Balo. It's an amazing book. It's not huge, it's not a super thick book, but it's very thorough, and it is absolutely full of beautiful illustrations. Now, for this being an academic anatomy book, one of the things I love about it is that it is absolutely geared towards artists. Dr. Balo, she got her doctorate in bird anatomy for artists. So that's what she's a specialist at. And so when I received the book in the mail and I started going through it, I discovered things that I had never known. And I've been drawing birds since I was a little kid. I'm 52 now. I've been drawing birds for 40 some odd years. And there were so many little nuggets of information in here that I had never known. It opened up my mind. It was absolutely incredible. One really interesting thing that I never knew about birds' feet, there's 4 digits. And if you number the digits 1, 2, 3, 4, that correlates with the number of knuckles each digit has. So the back digit has 1, the first digit has 2, and so on as you go around, so that the outside digit has 4 knuckles. Piece of information I never knew. I learned that from Dr. Balo. It's really incredible. And it starts, one of the things I love about just her approach, because she's an artist, it starts with the importance of sketching. And I'm always pushing this on anybody that asks me about, how do I get better at animal drawing? How do I get better at drawing in general? And I always tell them, you need to draw from life. You need to be out there sketching and experiencing the world or the animals as best you can from a realistic viewpoint. When you do that, you can see the world in 3 dimensions. Your brain records it in 3 dimensions. You're not looking at flat objects like photographs and that sort of thing. And so she really stresses this. Once you get past the importance of sketching, and the first section we get into is the bird body, and it's a structural analysis where she starts to break things down and looks at it from a 3-dimensional standpoint. Right after that, we get into the construction of the head. And this is what I do on a lot of my animal drawing courses. I start to break the body apart into different sections, and so that we can attack each section before we start putting the whole thing together. It's easy to take small bites than it is to take big bites. So with that in mind, after we're done with the head, we just move on down the body. And the next part we get into is the construction of the neck and the trunk. Well, obviously the neck and the trunk is the full part of the body. And then within that, we're talking about muscles, we're talking about skeleton and muscular connections. What's really cool about, especially with birds, and you get into the trunk, is that sternum. We have a very flat sternum. Birds have a huge sternum. They have what's called a keel, and that's for all that muscle for flight to attach to. And this is one of the things that the book makes very clear. The next part is something that I think confuses a lot of young artists that are coming into drawing birds, and that's the wings of the birds. They don't quite understand a lot of times what the comparative anatomy is, and this makes it very clear. And so once you get through this part, especially when you start looking at the skeleton of the wing, you start to see that they really are like our own arms. They've just evolved some different shapes and obviously feathers and muscles. She also gets into wing shapes. Now, every species of bird has a different shaped wing, whether it's a condor that has wings for soaring or a hummingbird that has wings for flying backwards. Everybody has a different shaped wing, and she gets into different types of species and different wing shapes and talks about their form and their function, which I find extremely valuable. Moving back from the wings, we get into the construction of the tail. She gets into the architecture, the tail feathers, and the tail shapes. It's extremely fascinating. Once she gets through all those different parts, she puts it all together and starts talking about drawing the complete bird. This is laid out in the same way that I do my animal drawing courses. We break down each part of the body, and then in the end, we pull it all together and draw everything together. By the time you get to drawing the complete bird in this book, you've already gone through everything else, and you understand the rhythms and the flow of everything and how it comes together into a complete bird. So once again, this is Bird Anatomy for Artists by Dr. Natalia Balo. I can't recommend it enough, like I said. And the other thing I want to stress is that it's not really huge. I talked about this earlier. It's a small book, lengthwise, packed with an incredible amount of information. And once again, it's written by an artist that has a doctorate in bird anatomy, but geared towards artists. You can't get much better than that if you want to learn how to draw and paint birds. So go out, get Bird Anatomy for Artists, go draw some birds, put some beauty back into the world, and I'll talk to you next time. Thanks.